From the start, Penny Saeger's time on My 600-Pound Life stood out, but for all the wrong reasons. Unlike most people on the show who struggle but try to follow Dr. Nowzaradan's weight loss plan, Penny refused to even try. She ignored his diet, didn't exercise, and constantly made excuses. Instead of following the rules, she relied on her husband, Edgar, to bring her unhealthy food, sabotaging her own progress. Most people who get weight loss surgery lose weight quickly, especially in the beginning. But Penny? She gained weight instead. Even after having gastric bypass surgery, which physically reduces how much a person can eat, Penny kept up her bad habits and made no real effort to change. Dr. Now told her the hard truth. She was in complete denial about her situation. Fans of the show were frustrated watching her story unfold. While most people struggle at first, they eventually realize they have to put in the effort. Penny, on the other hand, acted like she was doing everything right, even when it was clear she wasn't. Her episode became one of the most infamous in the show's history. But what happened after the show? Did she ever take responsibility for her choices, or did she keep living the same way? Let's take a closer look at one of the most shocking stories ever featured on My 600-Pound Life. Before Penny Saeger became one of the most infamous stars of My 600-Pound Life, she was just another person struggling with severe obesity. At the time of her episode, Penny weighed over 530 pounds and was completely bedridden. She relied on her husband, Edgar, for everything: cooking, cleaning, and even basic personal care. Before we dive in, I'm on a journey to 1,000 subscribers, so if you'd like to support me, hit that subscribe button. Penny's struggles with food started early in life. Like many others on the show, she had a history of emotional eating, but by the time she appeared on My 600-Pound Life, her habits had spiraled out of control. She admitted to eating huge portions of unhealthy food, but at the same time, she refused to believe she was doing anything wrong. When Penny and Edgar traveled from Maryland to Houston for Dr. Now's program, there was some hope that she would take the process seriously. She needed to prove she could lose weight on her own before being approved for surgery. But almost immediately, Penny refused to follow the diet. She claimed she was eating healthy, but Dr. Now's hospital records showed otherwise. Even while under medical supervision, she wasn't making progress. Despite her lack of effort, Dr. Now eventually approved her for gastric bypass surgery, hoping it would force her to change. But Penny's mindset remained the same. Instead of eating smaller portions and making better food choices, she continued to sneak unhealthy foods and refuse physical therapy. As a result, she barely lost any weight, which shocked both Dr. Now and the viewers at home. Her attitude during this part of the journey was one of the most frustrating things about her episode. Instead of taking responsibility, she blamed everyone else: the doctors, the nurses, even her own body. When Dr. Now confronted her, she insisted that she was doing everything right, even though her weight said otherwise. Most patients, even the difficult ones, eventually have a moment where they realize they need to change. But Penny? She never had that moment. She left the program early, convinced that she could lose weight on her own at home. Spoiler, she didn't. Penny's time on My 600-Pound Life wasn't just frustrating. It was one of the biggest failures in the show's history. While other patients faced setbacks but kept trying, Penny refused to change from the start. Her unwillingness to follow the program led to several major issues, both on the show and after. One of the first red flags was Penny's attitude toward Dr. Now's diet. Like all patients, she was given a strict low-calorie, high-protein meal plan to help her lose weight before surgery. But Penny didn't follow it at all. She insisted that she was eating healthy, yet the doctors could see from her results that she wasn't making progress. Even when she was in the hospital, where her food was controlled, she barely lost weight. When Dr. Now confronted her, she always had an excuse, claiming her body was different and didn't lose weight the way others did. Most people who get gastric bypass surgery lose weight no matter what, even if they don't follow the diet perfectly. But Penny gained weight instead, which is almost unheard of for weight loss surgery patients. This proved that she was still eating more than she should have been. Dr. Now made it clear that surgery wasn't a magic fix. Patients had to work hard for success. But Penny believed that just having the surgery should have been enough. She didn't change her eating habits, she didn't move more, and as a result, she sabotaged her own progress. One of the saddest parts of Penny's story was how much control she had over her husband, Edgar. Instead of encouraging her to change, Edgar continued to enable her bad habits. Viewers were shocked to see him bringing her unhealthy food, even after she was warned to stop eating junk. Dr. Now tried to get Edgar to stand up for himself, but he was deeply stuck in a cycle of enabling Penny. He took care of her every need, which allowed her to stay in bed and avoid making any effort. Many viewers believed that if Edgar had stopped bringing her food, she would have had no choice but to change. The most frustrating part of Penny's journey was her complete refusal to admit she was failing. While most people on the show struggle at first, they eventually recognize that they have to put in the work. Penny, on the other hand, insisted she was doing great, even when the evidence showed otherwise. At one point, she told the cameras, "I know I'm making progress." But she wasn't. The reality was that she had barely lost any weight and was still completely dependent on Edgar for everything. Her denial made her one of the most talked about people in my 600-pound life history. But what happened after the show? Did she ever turn things around? After leaving my 600-pound life, Penny Saeger completely disappeared from Dr. Now's program. Unlike other patients who continue follow-ups, Penny refused to return and insisted she could lose weight on her own. But did she? Unfortunately, it became clear that Penny had not changed at all. After her episode aired, fans tried to find updates on her progress, but there was little evidence that she had made any effort to lose weight. She did a short follow-up episode a year later, and Dr. Now confirmed that she had made no progress. She was still bedridden, still relying on Edgar for everything, and still refusing to accept responsibility for her situation. When asked if she had been following the program at home, she claimed she was, but her weight told a different story. At that point, Dr. Now cut her from the program, telling her that until she was ready to accept help, nothing would change. After her episode aired, Penny became one of the most criticized stars in the show's history. Fans were frustrated watching her blame everyone but herself, and many took to social media to voice their opinions. Some called her the laziest person ever on the show, while others felt bad for Edgar and their young son, who had to take care of her. Penny, however, didn't seem to care about the backlash. She rarely responded to criticism, and when she did, she made it clear that she still believed she was doing fine. One of the biggest concerns from viewers was the effect Penny's lifestyle had on her husband and child. Edgar had been completely dedicated to taking care of Penny, even when it was clear that she wasn't trying to help herself. Many fans wondered if he would ever stand up for himself and stop enabling her behavior. As for their son, people worried about what kind of life he was living with, a mother who couldn't take care of herself. Penny's weight made it impossible for her to be active in his life, and fans hoped that as he got older, he wouldn't be forced into the same caregiver role that Edgar had taken on. As of today, Penny has stayed almost completely off the radar. She doesn't post updates about her weight loss, or lack of it, and it seems like she wants to stay out of the public eye. Unlike other former patients who share their progress on social media, Penny has no known public accounts. Based on her last update, it doesn't seem like she ever lost a significant amount of weight. It's likely that she is still living the same way she was when she left the show, relying on Edgar, refusing to change, and still believing that she doesn't need help. Penny Saeger's story remains one of the most frustrating and disappointing in my 600-pound life history. While many people on the show struggle, most eventually find the motivation to change, even if it takes time. Penny, on the other hand, never had that breakthrough moment. Instead, she refused to follow Dr. Now's advice, ignored her diet, and convinced herself she was making progress when she wasn't. Her refusal to change made her one of the most controversial figures on the show. While some viewers felt sympathy for her, many were frustrated by her attitude and refusal to take responsibility. She had the chance to turn her life around, but instead she walked away from the program and stayed in denial. Perhaps the saddest part of Penny's story is that she had support. She had a husband, Edgar, who cared for her, and a young son who needed her. But instead of using them as motivation to change, she continued to rely on Edgar to do everything for her, making it impossible for her to ever become independent. Unlike other stars from the show, Penny never returned for another follow-up episode, never shared updates on social media, and never showed any signs of improvement. While some former patients have gone on to lose hundreds of pounds and start new lives, Penny's story remains stuck in the same place. Dr. Now has helped countless people overcome extreme obesity, but even he couldn't help Penny because she never truly wanted to change. Her story serves as a reminder that weight loss surgery is not a quick fix, and that without real effort, nothing will change. In the end, Penny Saeger will always be remembered as one of the biggest missed opportunities in the show's history. A patient who had everything she needed to succeed, but chose to stay exactly where she was. And unless she has a huge change of heart, it seems like that's exactly where she'll stay. That wraps up Penny Saeger's journey. Do you think she could have changed if she had tried harder, or was she always destined to fail? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.